Start game now.
Welcome, retro fans, to Retro Reviews with the No Swear Gamer. I am your host, the No Swear Gamer. Today we're joined by the awesome Nintendo wristband because we're going to be playing an NES game today, continuing our ABCs of Retro series with the letter J. Now, previously I gave this hint. It is the man who hates the Thundercats. Now, if you know your Thundercat villains, it could be one of two men, either Vulture Man or Jackal Man. That's right, because today we're going to do Konami's Jackal for the Nintendo Entertainment System, based on the 1986 arcade game in North America known as Top Gunner. Jackal is from 1988. Now, if you look at just the cover art here, the label art if you will, it's also the box art, you see it basically looks like a generic G.I. Joe kind of cover art. It actually looks like a knockoff of G.I. Joe. You know, back when G.I. Joe was really popular, you go to Kmart and they'd have like these other guys that weren't G.I. Joe, but were about $1 cheaper. And this is what that kind of reminds me of. So even though it really shows an accurate depiction of what is going on in the game, it really didn't jump off to me too much when I first saw this. It just looked like another kind of army game. So we're going to see if this is just another army game or if this is something more as we pop this into our Nintendo. So let's go ahead and see if Jackal is worthy or not of our time. In Jackal, America has discovered that there are still dozens of American prisoners of war still trapped in Vietnam. So they decide that they need to rescue these guys, but they don't want to have a big political mess on their hands. They don't want full-scale war. So instead they go to a group of Green Berets who have the nice little Jeep squad, if you will, where you send one man driver, one man gunner. So you send these little parties behind enemy lines so that if they get caught, you know, it's one of these things where we don't know you, they were just, you know, out on their own. But if you are successful to infiltrate the enemy camp and rescue the prisoners, then everything is good. It's actually a pretty interesting story, one of the better ones to set up a game. And they even gave several of these guys names. They tell you 4 of the guys' names. You have Lieutenant Bob, Sergeant Quint, and Corporal Gray, as well as Colonel Decker. Now, you see, I always had a bit of a chip on my shoulder against Colonel Decker for what he did against B.A. Baracus and the A-Team, always going after them, you know, even though they were set up. But we find out that Colonel Decker actually is a patriot at heart, even though misguided when it comes to the A-Team. But he is a patriot at heart as he goes back, willing to risk life and limb to rescue some of his old buddies. So there you go, Colonel Decker. You're earning some brownie points with me here. Anyways, the gameplay is very interesting. You're always in a Jeep, but it is done in a very interesting way, in a run and gun way, and you can also rescue hostages. So in a way, this game is 50% Jeep, 50% Choplifter because you have to rescue hostages just like the game Choplifter, and 50% Commando in the style that it plays, the kind of run and gun style. And that leads up to 150% awesomeness. Yeah, this game is pretty good. You drive around, it commands pretty well. The Jeep moves really easy. There is no accelerating brake. You just move your D-pad to move it. If you stop pushing the D-pad, it stops. It moves really well, I thought. The machine gun, which is one of your buttons, constantly fires forward. Now, if you hold down the button, it'll constantly shoot out bullets. It doesn't do it very quickly, so having a rapid fire controller may come in handy. But the other button is used to lob grenades or missiles. Now, these are shot in the direction that you are aiming. So if you're aiming diagonally, you can shoot them diagonally. They do have a limited range, but you can upgrade them more on that later. But again, those are one at a time. So again, a rapid fire button on a controller might help with those as well. So as you drive around the game field, occasionally you will come across a house. Now, if you blow up these houses, you will rescue somebody. Either one person, if you rescue the one person, they will upgrade your weapon, or if it starts saying help, 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 you will rescue a group of people, which those people you can take back to a helicopter pad, and as long as you stay alive, they will be able to escape into a helicopter, and you'll get bonus points for that. The more people you rescue, the more points you'll get, of course. But if your Jeep blows up in between getting to the helicopter pad, you will lose several of them, and there will be 4 stranded that you can recollect and take back to the helicopter pad. So an interesting mechanic, again, like I said, very much like Choplifter. The game is very fun, and it can also be played 2 players simultaneously. Now, there are 6 levels that get progressively harder, as you would imagine. As I was playing this game, I was only able to get to level 3. If you do die, you can use continues, but they will start you back at the beginning of the level. You have 5 lives for each continue. I think the manual says you only get 3, but you actually get 5 lives. There is a code out there where you use a 2-player game, and if you hit A and B as the second player dies, you can get a whole bunch of lives. But for this game, I decided to stay true and just go with your standard, what the game gives you kind of fare. No difficulty settings, you get what you get with this game. But I just found it to be strangely fun, and I wasn't expecting that at all, because Jackal is one of these games for me that kind of flew under the radar. It's a game, the box art underwhelms me. I didn't hear a whole lot of people saying it, so when I was asking for suggestions and people kept mentioning Jackal, I was kind of surprised. I thought, you might pick something like Jurassic Park on the Sega CD or another J game that I had, but no, Jackal came out on top. And now I can see why. It is a pretty fun game, especially if you have a friend in tow. It is tough as it goes on, but it's a game that I think if I had more time to practice, I would get progressively better at it, just as you would with most games. It does have some cheap hits sometimes. As you scroll up the screen, sometimes enemies kind of appear out of nowhere and get a cheap shot at you, and this is a one-hit wonder, so if you get hit, that's it. Now, different vehicles and characters take different amounts of shots. However, some of the soldiers, if you want to, you can just roll right over them. There's no blood and guts, but you can run over them. That's probably the most unfamily friendly thing about this game, but it's probably going to make most people laugh, to be honest with you. There, again, no blood, no guts. Fairly family friendly for the most part. Definitely middle school age, maybe even a little younger than that. Basically, if your kid could handle a G.I. Joe cartoon, they probably can handle this game without any problem. I thought the graphics were okay. It doesn't look good in still shots, but as you move around, it moves really smoothly. Now, again, this game doesn't force you to scroll. It's kind of like Commando, but you do not have to be pushed up the screen. You can go at your own leisure, but once you go up, you can't go down. You can go down a little bit, but not too much. It kind of locks you in the up position. So it kind of gives you the ability to go your own way, and sometimes the path branches. You can choose which way you want to go. You're still going up the screen, but you can choose like a right path or left path and decide which way you want to go there. I thought the music was really good. For an early Nintendo game, had that nice Nintendo chiptune sound. I really liked the music. Of course, when you're playing and you're, having bullets fly at you from every which way coming at you, you're not paying too much attention to the music. But as I kind of took a step back and listened to the music, I thought it was really well done. So, where would I rank this game? Well, you know what? I think that this game is pretty good. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and rename this game, because Jackal kind of doesn't do it service. You say Jackal, you don't know what it is. So since it was 50% Jeep, 50% Choplifter, 50% Commando, for the sake of me talking in the review, I'm going to name this Jeep Lifto. So Jeep Lifto, where would I rank Jeep Lifto? Well, let's see. I was looking at my list, and it was easy in some cases. Like, I would rather play Castle Illusion on the Sega Genesis than this game, but I would rather play this game than Blackthorn. So I was looking at General Chaos, and I had kind of a back and forth, and I could see how you could go either way with General Chaos and this game. But in the end, General Chaos just had a little bit more charm, and I liked the difficulty setting a little bit better on General Chaos. It was a good game for me just to sit back and relax with, where, Jeep Lifto kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat. So I think in this case, I'm going to give General Chaos just a little bit of nod. I also like the humor in General Chaos a little bit better. But it's not saying Jeep Lifto is a bad game. Actually, Jeep Lifto is really good. One of the hidden gems on the Nintendo Entertainment System. So on the list, I'm putting Jackal at number 6, but in my heart, I know it's Jeep Lifto. So Jeep Lifto for the Nintendo Entertainment System. It's cheap too. If you want it on eBay, you can easily get a copy for $6 shipped to your door or less. If you want a complete copy, again, you're going to get the more inflated prices, so you're looking anywhere from the $15 to $25 price range for a complete copy. But Jeep Lifto is one of those games that you should be able to get rather easily, and it shouldn't cost you too much. So, it's one of those games where if you see it in a lot, maybe you're looking for a different game that's more valuable and rare, but you happen to see Jeep Lifto, don't ignore it like I did for so long. Pop it in and check it out. You might find out it's funner than you think. Okay, it's time for some shout-outs. I'd like to thank some of the people who helped me pick this game, including Paul, Aaron, and Adam. You can hear more about them at Retro Obscura Podcast. as well as Matt, Ashley, Joe, and the Malicious Carp. Thank you guys for your input. If you'd like to follow me on Facebook, you can. Just go to facebook.com/the-no-swear-gamer. Check out some of the cool photos I posted recently. I think you might get a kick out of them. Also, if you want to find out more about the Retro Junkies Network, just go to theretrojunkies.com. So there you go. Thank you for giving me a little part of your day, and I hope to see you next time right here on Retro Reviews. Next up will be our letter K game, and here is your hint for that. Jackie? I think some of you know it already, but you'll have to wait and see to be sure on our next episode. So again, see y'all next time.